Energy prices are going through the roof, and this winter is going to be very, very difficult for a lot of households. So in this video, I wanted to share with you a device which can be picked up for less than £15. I have no affiliation with this device. I'm not going to tell you a brand. You can buy whatever version you want. But I think if you use this device correctly, like I'm going to show you in this video, depending on the house you live in, you could save anything from a few pound, hopefully at least the cost of the device, maybe a few £100, and maybe in some extreme cases over £1,000. So let's just have a quick look at energy prices first to give you guys an idea of what is going to happen, because I'm sure you guys have all seen the headlines. But what does that really mean to your wallet? So this is a prediction from only a few days ago. This is on the BBC News website, so it's about as official as you're going to get. So you can see here, back in last winter, the average household, or the price cap for the household in the UK, was around about, I'd say about £1,200. So the direct debit for the average household would have been about £100 per month for their gas and electric bill. Now for this winter stroke early spring, we're predicting it to hit somewhere between £3,500 to over £4,000. So your direct debit, instead of being about £100 per month on average, will be somewhere between £350 and £400. That is a massive increase. Now, I know currently it is the middle of August and it's baking hot outside, but I want to give you guys this demonstration in this video. So hopefully you can start making preparations for this so that when the winter arrives, you can save the most amount of money possible. So let me show you the product first. So like, this isn't a fake unboxing or anything. This is a fake box, by the way, because I don't have the original box for the product. But here it is. And you guys might have seen similar versions to this with COVID, you know, people pointing these at your forehead and checking what your temperature is. Now, this version isn't actually designed for human use, so don't get one of these and start pointing it at your face, because it does actually have a laser in there. You can just about see that on the screen. And how these work is you're pointing them at a surface, and it will tell you the temperature of the surface or the air that you're pointing it at. So used correctly, these can tell you where all of the air leaks are in your home. And there are a number of areas that I want you to focus on. And earlier today, in this crazy baking heat we've got at the moment, I went round and recorded a few areas of my house to show you where I've used these in the past to try and make my house as well insulated as possible. Because most people usually insulate the loft and that's it when it comes to insulation. But with this gun, you can actually find all of the areas where you are letting cold air in, or in a day like today, letting all the hot air in. So let me talk you through this video. We're going to start with my front door. Excuse all the boxes here. Some of you guys know we're currently packing up the house to move at the moment. So the first place I want you guys to take a look is your letterbox. Because the amount of people I know that have a broken letterbox, either the kind of draft excluders inside have gone or the flap itself doesn't shut properly. Now, like I said, it's quite a warm day today, and inside the house is actually cooler than outside, so it's around 25 degrees inside the house. But you can see as I go over this letterbox, this isn't in direct sun at the moment either, so this isn't the sun that's warmed up the metal. You can see that popped up to 28, 29 degrees because of the warm air coming through the letterbox. Now, if you imagine this is the winter and you're trying to hold your household maybe somewhere between 20 and 22 degrees, and you're letting in air that's 5 degrees or 10 degrees, you can see how that will mean you'd need to use a lot more energy to maintain the heat within your house. So you can see I'm just showing some more examples that generally this door is around 25 degrees. But as I get closer to the letterbox, especially this left-hand side, it goes up a little bit, and this top area especially is where it's leaking a lot of warm air at the moment. So the first place I want you to look at is your letterbox. Make sure the letterbox actually shuts properly both on the front and on the inside of the door. And then also make sure your draft excluder inside is there in position as well. I then want you to keep focusing on the front door and go around the seam of the door, because you'll be amazed how many doors are not fitted correctly or have dropped a little bit over time and don't seal very well. Now, on a warmer day, it's naturally going to be a little bit warmer at the top. As you can see, it's going up to like 26 degrees. But this also could indicate maybe there's not a perfect seal at the top. And if that's the case, you've got a big area that's letting in some warm air, or in the winter, it's going to be letting in some cold air. And that's going to be driving up your energy bill. So start with your front door, check your letterbox, then check the full seal of the door. And if you find there's a particular area where you're letting in a load of cold air, then you can put in some extra seals, or you can adjust the door to make sure it shuts and seals correctly. The next area that I want you to focus on is your windows. Now, the chances are you're going to have a lot more windows than you do front, side, and back doors. So you want to spend extra time here, as this is probably the biggest source of cold air into the building. So I'm just taking a ballpark read of about 25 degrees again, And then I'm going to go around the edge of all openable windows, because a lot of windows, again, don't shut completely or they've worn out a bit over time. And as I've come up here, you can see it's already gone up a degree or so. And we keep going up. Like I say, in this type of weather, it's going to be naturally a little bit warmer at the top. But the key thing is just to keep an eye on this. If it suddenly jumps like there, just jump from 26.5 to 27 to about 28 degrees, there's obviously something not quite sealed correctly at the top. And if you do this in the colder months, the differences are much bigger because you're going to have like 20 to 22 in the house, 5-10 degrees outside. So it'll be much easier to spot those differences. And again, you take some time to make sure your windows are adjusted to shut correctly, or if you need to, put some additional foam in something to make sure you create a really strong seal with that window. Now, these next ones are a huge source of inlet of cold air. These are your loft hatches. So we'll take a base read of about 25 degrees again. And then as we get closer to the loft hatch, the lofts are baking hot on a day like today. You can see a couple of degrees extra is coming out of this corner. Starts to cool back down again. So there's definitely some sort of leak on this corner that I'd want to seal if I'm looking to make the maximum efficiency from my home. It cools down a bit more on this right-hand side. So there's no real issues with leaks here. And I'm getting further into the house is actually cooling down a little bit. And then we come across the back side of this loft hatch. And as we come towards this right-hand side again, you can actually see the gap there. It starts to warm up a bit. So I might need to adjust my loft, maybe put a bit more insulation around these gaps or adjust the hinges a bit to make sure I get a really good seal. Now, these are a huge source of cold air as well, your extractor fans. So you're probably thinking, what can I really do about an extractor fan? Well, let's have a look at the difference first. So 25, 26 degrees and then 29 degrees. That's a 3-degree difference, and that's going to be even bigger in the winter months, but obviously inverse. So rather than going up, it's going to be going down. So make sure your external vent is maybe one of those closable ones that self-closes once the air stops being pushed through it. And also make sure there's a good seal all the way around it. And the actual hose itself inside is fully connected around the edge. Now, this one here is something you'll probably find a bigger difference on an external wall. This is actually on an internal wall for me. So the difference between the wall temperature and the air that's coming from that internal wall cavity is basically the same. But if that was on an external wall, that's where your pipes come out, is very often a source of cold air. So go and check all your pipes, and if you've got cold air coming through, you can pop in there some expanding foam. Be very careful with expanding foam because it does expand a lot more than you think, but you can cut it afterwards, and I'm sure your plumber will love you for it. And this one here, this is one actually I did last winter because my kitchen was getting cold, and a lot of the cold air was coming between a gap between the skirting board and the laminate flooring. So there's a very small gap here that I could use to show you the difference. So the base temperature down here is about 24, so we're a bit lower down in the room. But as we come over to here, you can see it actually goes down a bit because the wall cavity, funnily enough, is actually cooler at the moment than the actual room temperature. So we've lost a degree or so because there's cooler air coming in. So I might go and sit down there at the moment because I'm roasting hot. But what I did to fix this issue, and different tradesmen might have different opinion on this, I just use some caulk. You can see here I've got a very thin line of caulk that I've pushed in there. You can see the temperature is now consistent. We don't get any cold air coming through that gap. And the reason I like to use caulk, it's very easy to work with, is water-based, whereas people try to do this with silicone. Unless you're used to working with silicone, you're going to make a complete mess. So something like caulk is water-based. You can put some in, you can wipe the excess off. And obviously with something like a laminate floor, which is a floating floor, it needs to have some room for expansion and contraction. So the caulk will give you a bit of that. Now, I'm sure someone's going to jump on the comments and tell you a better method to use, but certainly check your skirting boards between that and the laminate floor, any hard flooring on external walls for ingress of cold air. And this one here is just more of a final tip, not so much to do with cold air, but ensuring that your radiators are heated correctly. So when you fire up your heating system again, as we get towards probably October time, you'll probably notice that some of your radiators aren't working as well as they should. So radiators will heat up naturally from the bottom and be very slightly cooler at the top. But if there's a big difference between the temperature at the bottom to what it is at the top, then generally you've got air in your radiator and you'll need to bleed that air out. So you've got some bleed valves on the side. You can loosen it up and just let them go until all of the air comes out and the water starts shooting out, and you tighten it back up. So this is another really good use for this device, which will tell you what the temperature is of the surface. So this device itself, like I say, is super cheap. I've just found one on Amazon for £13.59. And I think if you use this correctly, it will save you more than that this winter. When you're looking at energy bills of £350 to £400 a month on an average house, if you've got a big house or an older house that isn't well insulated, your direct debit could be £500 plus per month, which is absolutely crazy. So something as simple as this, and maybe an hour or two of your time, could save you hundreds, maybe more, on your bill. So what I'll do is I'll stick a link to this product, or what I think is the best one on Amazon at the moment, as a pinned comment. And also I'll put it in the description as well. If you found this video useful, I'd appreciate you to take a moment, scroll down, hit that like button. It will help more and more people find out about this and help them save money on their energy bills. If you want to see more from me, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to know how to save, or not to save, but how to claim up to £1,650 from the government to help with this current energy crisis, I'm going to pop up the video in front of me now. I released it a few weeks ago. It's had nearly 10,000 views. So make sure you check out that video. That will talk you through exactly what you need to do to claim the money to help you guys get through the energy crisis. And I recommend you guys give that a watch.